There has always been a focus of evidence-based practice in healthcare. It is important that nurses understand the principles of a research process. Undertaking a literature review in nursing is a complex process. It can seem a vast, daunting task which feels like it will never come to an end. Following a structured, systematic approach and remaining focused can make the whole process of completing a systematic literature review less stressful. These step-by-step video tutorials are suitable for all nurses, students alike, and are a great resource available for use by you. This video will focus on searching the literature for your systematic review. By the end of this section, you should be able to identify how to develop your own inclusion and exclusion criteria for your search, utilise databases to find the literature, explore other useful search strategies, understand the importance of abstract reviewing, and identify any strengths and limitations you encountered during your study. By now, you should have defined your research question and will have developed an idea of a type of literature that will be needed to answer your question. Developing inclusion and exclusion criteria will help you to identify what you need to search for in your review. The main aim of this is to provide focus and structure to the whole process and is a vital stage in your systematic review. Your inclusion criteria will be specific to your own individual literature review. Here is an example of inclusion criteria. The literature will be nursing focused. The literature search will use the keywords for the use of steroids in preterm babies. We'll only use literature from 2008 onwards. We'll only use published material. And lastly, only use literature in English language. It is also important that you document your exclusion criteria as well. So in this example, non-nursing material will be excluded. Anything not specific to the use of steroids in preterm babies. Any material pre-2008 will not include any unpublished material and any literature that is not written in English. You must make sure you justify your inclusion and exclusion criteria so the reader of your study can see how you came up with them specifically to fit your research question. Now you have developed your inclusion and exclusion criteria, it is time to search for the literature. The main focus of people's literature search is by the use of electronic databases as their starting point. There are many types of databases available for you to use to search for your literature, each holding vast amounts of research and articles. Most nurses undertaking a systematic review will use CINAHL first. CINAHL offers a wide range of nursing literature, including international studies and articles. When using an electronic database, it is vital to identify keywords to narrow down your search. This is where your inclusion and exclusion criteria comes in, and when using keywords from these should focus the search. If at this point you are getting too many hits, you should consider if your keywords are too broad, if a research question was not focused enough. Do not ignore any papers at this point, as this allows bias into your study. It is important to use more than one database, as this gives you the confidence you have found most of the relevant literature for your review. You need to make sure that you document your results to demonstrate your search was well thought out, and this provides evidence to the reader of a systematic approach. Most authors agree your search strategy will need to be supplemented by using various other methods for searching the literature. One alternative method from using a database is snowball sampling. An example of this would be if a journal or an author's particular work fitted your criteria for your study, then you may review other articles from these to search for further useful literature. Some authors see this method of searching as the most effective approach for searching for literature. Other additional search strategies include hand searching, author searching, reference list searching. If you have critiqued an article and you feel it is valid or of good quality and useful for your study, searching through the context page, reference list, etc. can yield large amounts of new material available to you. I find these methods personally very useful and often uncover valuable literature, sometimes missed by electronic searches. Once your search is completed, the next stage is to check the abstract of your search against the inclusion criteria you have set. The abstract is a summary of the main body of the paper. The paper must fit your inclusion criteria. If you are having trouble obtaining the abstract or the abstract is unclear, the full paper must be reviewed. Exclude any papers at this point that do not fit your criteria and you will have now narrowed down the list of papers relevant to your study. It is important you document your process of how you narrowed down the search. This allows a reader to see that you have not left out any papers which could have been included. Prisma diagram was developed to aid authors of systematic reviews report their studies. The advantage of this allows a reader to assess the transparency of the study. Here is an example of a flowchart developed for a literature review. 90 papers were identified from 3 database searches. 20 duplicates were excluded. 70 abstracts assessed against set inclusion criteria. At this point, 48 were rejected as not fitting inclusion criteria. 22 full text copies were obtained and screened against the inclusion criteria. 5 of these copies were rejected as not fitting the inclusion criteria, so this left 17 full text papers to be included in the literature review. Now you have chosen your papers to include in your review, it is important to highlight strengths and limitations from your search. Identifying not only the good points from your search strategy, but also the limitations you faced shows transparency, reduces bias, and in theory increases the validity of the overall review. One example of a limitation for your search strategy could have been time. If you are the sole reviewer, you will have been under tight time constraints and possibly not been able to search for all the literature available. In summary, this video on how to search for literature when undertaking a systematic review has explained the meaning of inclusion and exclusion criteria, the use of databases, gone through additional search strategies, shown the importance of abstract reviewing, and documenting the strengths and limitations of your search strategy. Thank you for watching.